Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, hi everyone. Hi Manish.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Am I clearly audible, guys?
Yes.
Alright, good. Sanjay, Hetvi, Krishna, Manish, Parth. Guys, please switch on your cameras. Krishna, Sanjay. Hey guys, I'm clearly audible and visible just to make sure that all of you can see me rightfully. Good to go. Akshay, all set? Ahmad, all set. All right. How is the prep going, guys? कैसी चल रही है तैयारी? डर लग रहा है? डर नहीं लग रहा है? डर नहीं लग रहा है तो भी प्रॉब्लम है, डर लग रहा है तो भी प्रॉब्लम है. बट आई थिंक लग रहा है इज ए बेटर प्लेस टू बी. पंकज, डर लग रहा है? नहीं लग रहा है.
लग रहा है सर.
इट इज़ ए गुड, आई कैन टेल यू इट इज़ ए गुड प्लेस टू बी. अगर लग रहा है तो लगना इज इवन बेटर देन ना लगना. All right, good guys. Thank you very much for joining in. Apologies for yesterday. I was just not ready with my deck. It was taking me more time than I expected. So we thought that better to give it a pass by day than to do it half-heartedly. So that was the reason I thought probably I'll push it by day. But when we'll do it, we'll do it at full length. Thank you very much, guys, for joining in. I welcome you to the day 3 of the grand revision for the Strategic Business Leader September 2024 exam. Today, we are gonna be covering the recent pre-seed material that has been issued by ACCA, which is gonna be relevant for you from your examination standpoint. But before I really go in and of course jump in onto the pre-seed material as a content, one thing I really want you to know and have it certainly at the back of your mind, and that is that pre-seen material is to be done and dusted before the exam. We should not be referring pre-seen material in the exam and wasting any more second or a minute onto it. We will not be doing that. We'll know what is needed in the pre-seen material in the days before the exams. We will not touch it there. That is one. Second point, we will not copy paste anything from the pre-seen material onto my answer without having a reason for it. If there is a reason for you to really take on something from the pre-seen material so that that can be part of your answer, it is good if you have a reason for that. But in case you do not have a reason, please do not copy paste anything from the pre-seen material. There are times wherein it has been explicitly, I would say, uh, somewhat somewhere being mentioned by the ACCA in various examiner report that you have to ensure that you are not copy pasting anything without any reason. That is something that you should certainly have at the back of your mind. 3, never think that anything and everything that is there in the pre-seen material, questions will come from that. Or probably in view of that, do not start searching on the Google, on the net, about more and more details about this as a concept, as a curriculum. No, that is not needed. We will stick on to what we have in the pre-seen material with an objective of anticipating some extended information in relation to this, and then we will collate our understanding of the pre-seen material and the exhibit. We collate it together, and then we will start answering the context or the questions that are there in the exam. Does that sound like a plan, guys? Is that something clear, guys? All right. Moving on to, guys, the I would say the pre-seen material analysis that I've done for the September 2024 exam. Guys, please be with me. Please hear out what I say. This presentation will be forwarded to you by end of the day today. So you need not be copying anything, writing anything anywhere. It is there for you. It will be there with you. So do not get worried about it. It will be there for you. So you should not be wasting any time in this presentation, in this discussion about writing anything. There is no need to write. This is there for you. All right. Moving on, guys. Let's switch on our gears and jump in onto what we have in store today from the September 2024 exam standpoint. If I really have to give you an introduction about what is there as a case for you, there is a case of TNC Industry, the transport network company. And I can tell you this thing, my friend. This is something that really relishes me. I'm really proud of somewhere the way ACCA really comes back to the student and gives them the real life scenario. TNC Industry is one of the most commonly and heavily used industry right now these days, and a question coming on this certainly says that how ACCA is looking forward for you to be equipped in terms of handling the real life scenarios. And I'm really happy in terms of what they really have brought on plate, because this is something which most of the students would have seen in some shape or format. We'll come up on that in a while as to why I'm saying this. The introduction, if I really have to call out, introduction is that the case that we have is of a company named Beago. All right, it is the second largest transport network company in the country, named Beeland. Okay, get that. Beeland has a population of 200 million above. Okay, so over 200 million is the population that this country has. Of course, we got established 12 years ago, and of course, the position that we currently have is based on the revenue and the customer numbers that we have. When I say we, for all practical purposes, I am Beago from the start to the end of this session. All right. Now, coming on to the industry per se, you would see the pre-seen material basically covers two broad areas. It, on one hand, covers the industry parlance as to what this industry is all about, and on the other hand, it covers what is the company all about, as to what are the things that you should be knowing from the company's perspective. And that's how we have segregated our presentation also onto two pieces, wherein on one hand we'll be covering as to what the industry is going to be all about. So first 16-17 slides or so is only going to be about industry, and then we will have few sliders that will talk on about the Beago. All right, moving on. If I really talk on the TNC in terms of what TNC is all about, it is on-demand transportation via website or mobile app. The classical example of that would be Ola or Uber, for that matter, in terms of how and what we use on the ongoing basis. We get that, sir. Now, if I really talk on their operational model of this industry is that they do not own from what they get money. So they're not owning cars, they're not owning drivers. They have effectively outsourced the entire transport industry, and they're only monitoring the app that manages the entire show. So they're basically, and no one really calls Uber to be a technology company, but effectively, if you really talk on Uber or Ola, they're effectively the technology companies. They are not the transport companies. They are effectively managing the transport via the app that they have created, and that's what the question is also all about. They do not own any fleet or direct employment from the, especially from the driver standpoint. They all have the independent contractors being the drivers, which are like the bread earners for the firm. All of them are not their employees but the contractors. If I really talk on the customer interaction, it connects with the customer and of course contact driver through a platform. We can easily correlate this with an Ola or an Uber, as I said. Billund as an economy, if I really say, it's a very urbanized economy, having 80% population in the cities, facing transport challenges like overcrowded public transport. Now, never to forget, if we are into the Uber business, Ola business, it has to be an urban population. We all understand that the Ola or the Ubers of the world would have less acceptance or less receptivity when it comes to the rural areas, because people may not have that kind of a knowledge or that kind of an acquaintance in terms of how to handle these apps. So you probably have to have more educated population to be able to take the benefit of a app like this, and that is where the Billund has an edge, because 80% of the population is urbanized. All right, I'm just trying to give you the pointers, my friend, which you should be consuming your way. That oh, I get that. Yes sir, I get that. Yes sir, I am getting that. And that's how we'll try building up the concept. And that is the reason, my friend, you would not need to go through the pre-scene material after this session, because everything would be covered the way I would want you to look forward to. All right, if you really talk on the government support side, it effectively favors the TNCs as an industry as convenient and cost-effective alternative to the public transport and private car ownership. So effectively, economy is also helping me. So what I'm now trying to do is that I'm trying to push you into the shoes of Ola or Uber, as we may want to call it. And now we will think of like an Uber, like an Ola, in any discussion that we would have, in anything that we will now discuss. Is that clear? Is that clear, guys? Can I have a thumbs up, please? Is that clear, guys? All right, good, thank you. All right, some of the similar real life companies, I just wanted to give some names to you. In USA, India, now we have Uber, we all know that. In Southeast Asia, we have companies like Grab. In location like India, if I really talk on the, like the India-based firm, we have Ola. In Africa, we have Kareem, and so on and so forth. So there can be any number of names. I just tried to plot out few names for you just to make sure that you really get the insight as to what this industry is going to be all about. Now, if I really have to talk on from the market standpoint, then in that case, you have to probably go into the country, that which country I'm part of and what is the market going to be looking like. If I really have to talk on the Billund as a market, they have specifically given, and all of these areas, all of these terms, all of these terminologies, all of these that you're seeing on slides are nothing but the areas that I've taken up. I've taken up from where? I've taken up from the pre-scene material. So there is nothing that I've tried going out, but what I've done is I've tried giving my color to it in terms of what you should be thinking through when you are reading all of this. While we'll be debating and discussing all of this, we'll be citing out and thinking about kind of areas that you may be thinking when this industry like this comes to picture. What you should be thinking about, what should be your thought process is something that we'll be trying to build from here. All right. Now, the information that is being given to you is that Zenby is Beago's main competitor and is the first TNC company established 14 years back. So effectively what we're saying is that the Beago is the second in number in terms of the industry at large. Zenby is the largest TNC in Billund and world's second largest, operating in 50 countries. Now whenever something like this comes up from the competitor standpoint, हे तभी बेटा हमें ये सोचना पड़ेगा कि हमारा कॉम्पिटिटर 50 कंट्रीज में है, क्या हम हैं? और हम नहीं हैं तो हमारे पास उसी समय बल्ब जल जाना चाहिए कि एक एक्सपेंशन का मोड और कंट्रीज में जाने का हो सकता है। और जब और कंट्रीज में जाने का होगा तो पार्थ ने फटाफट से हाथ उठाया और बोला, सर फिर हम पोर्टर्स डायमंड देखेंगे। Parth, I love you for that, beta, because this is the theme, this is the terminology, this is the thoughts that you should have when you are thinking and reading these kind of things. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Beago was established 2 years after Zenbi and has gradually taken the significant position in Zenbi's market share. I get that, sir. All right. So effectively, I'm eating up my competitors' share. All right. Beago operates exclusively in Billund, offering services in 250 cities across the country. हेतवी बेटा, मैं किसी और कंट्री में हूँ ही नहीं, मैं तो सिर्फ 250 सिटीज़ में हूँ इन दी कंट्री. सो जो पार्थ बोल रहा था वो सही है बेटा, कि मेरे को हो सकता है जियोग्राफिकली कुछ सोचना पड़े अगर मुझे एक्सपेंशन के बारे में सोचना है तो, और उस केस में मुझे पोर्टस डायमंड लगाना पड़ सकता है बेटा. हेतवी तो मेरा बच्चा है इंटेलिजेंट. ईच सिटी इन बीलैंड sets its own criteria for issuing licenses to TNC and their drivers. So effectively, I have to manage. I'm thinking about the problem. I have to manage various cities' compliances. I have to manage. So there is a risk, there is an issue, there is a compliance issue over here. All right, I get that, sir. Several other TNC businesses have entered the Billund market in the last decade, but most operate in limited number of cities. So I have an edge over there because my presence is there in 250 cities. Many of these companies that are there, which are newly ones, are not having that kind of an expansion, which is fine. But that effectively also gives me a thought जो पंकज को भी आ रहा होगा, which is what, that I might think of acquisition because I have small players available if I have to think about expansion. I'm loving you, Pankaj, for that. Those are the thoughts that should keep coming onto your mind. All right. By the end of 2003, Zenbi and Beago together will have 85% of TNC market in the Billund, which is huge number. 85% will be owned by top two. I get that. The number of customers registered with TNC in Billund has doubled in last 8 years. Okay, so there is a huge expansion in terms of what is happening in the industry, which is good positioning to have, which is good place to be in. By the end of 2003, 25% of the Billund population were active user of TNC services. Okay, so effectively there is a huge scope too, because even today we have 75% of the population to target. If I remove the oldies and the children, we still may have at least 25 to 30% of the population to target, which is huge in terms of number. Manish, these all are the things that should automatically start coming into your mind when you're reading something like this, because these are nothing but the commonsensical question that I'm discussing, commonsensical things that I'm talking, because those are the things that any and every strategic business leader should start thinking about whenever we are reading something like this. बात समझ में आती है बेटा? आती है. All right, moving on. Competition of the customer also comes from traditional taxi cabs and public transport, including trains and buses, of course. These can be our real-time competitors. The metros of the world, the taxis of the world, and of course the trains and buses of the world will certainly be our competitors. But of course, हम देख लेंगे. Competition को तो हमने वैसे ही देख लेना है. All right, moving on. They have given some kind of graphs to you, which effectively says that TNC market share in Billund is something which is huge. If I really, if you really see this, of course, while I can say the market share is having a trend, but even right now it is huge in terms of its outreach. TNC user growth in Billund is certainly on the right track. It is growing at a very right space or a pace, I may say that. Now, the kind of services that are there in the industry. Now, think about Uber, think about Olas of the world. What kind of services they would have? One thing that should certainly come to your mind is that I have ordered a cab, I have booked a cab, and cab will come and take me and my family from one place to the other. That's the basic service that I have. Fair enough, A3, I give you the brownie points for it. Then Parth comes up and says to me, you know what, sir, you're forgetting, there is one another service, which is carpool, wherein I can do a pool trip also, wherein car will pick up 3 different people from the 3 different I would say corners of the city, and of course drop them one by one. That is called carpool, that Uber allows. and of course the other folks are also allowing. That's another way of thinking about it. Okay, what else? So there can be, I have seen something called Uber Eat also, sir, wherein Uber delivers something which is food from one place to the other. Okay, sir, I get that, Pankaj, you get the full brownie point for it. Yes, we have a service like that. What else? Sir, there are things which we have seen, wherein we have seen Uber rental, sir, wherein if I have to go from one part of the city to the other, we have Uber rental being available. I can book a cab and that cab can take me from Mumbai to Pune or from Delhi to Mumbai, as the case may be. I'm loving you, Manish, for that. That is again a kind of service that a company has. That is again a kind of the kind of service that Uber or the other companies like this have. What else? So there can be some I would say transportation services that are being offered by Ubers of the world, because if I have to shift from one place to the other, they might help me shifting my goods from one place to the other. In case, if I really take the trucks and the buses, they can also offer me those kind of services. Yes, that can also be something that you should be thinking about. Those are the things which are very common these days. Those are the things which we know that are very, I would say, very well available in the industry at large, and those are the things that are there in the question too. For example, the first thing that he says is the service ride sharing. Now, this is something which is nothing but the pool cab, which says ride sharing involves sharing a ride with the other passengers who have picked up and dropped, who have pick up and drop locations along the same or the similar route. All right, we get that. Then the service usually offers the discounted prices to the passengers. Yes, that is true. Zenbi and Beago were both initially established to offer ride sharing services. I get that. So initially they started off with the pool thing. Okay, I get that. Connecting drivers and customers for the shared journey. All right, sir, we get that. Then, of course, they would have grown over a period of time. Ride sharing aims to reduce single occupancy rides in the cities, helping to reduce congestion and, of course, positively, having an impact on the environment. So they had a good impact when they started off with, because somewhere the social impact is also being taken care when you do service ride sharing, because pollution is really kept under control and so on and so forth. The cost of ride sharing among customers is making it a cost effective transport option, because of course sharing is also always cheaper, so it is a good option to have. We get that. Customers must specifically request a shared ride on TNC's platform to use this service. So effectively, this is a service being available. You have to order it and you would get the carpool service, or they call it to be service ride sharing. Okay, they started off with this, then they have grown in terms of their size. What is another one? Ride hailing. Hetvi wanted to go from her house to the Akshardham temple. If she wants to go there, she has ordered a cab, and then Hetvi, her father and her mother, is getting into the cab to go from her home to the Akshardham temple. There is nothing but ride hailing happening over there. Ride hailing involves customer requesting a driver to take them directly to the desired destination. This can be done by virtually hailing a ride from the TNC's app or the website. With traditional taxi cab, ride hailing is done by hailing a cab from the street or booking one via phone app. All right, ride hailing is most popular service offered by most ANCs, including Zenbi and Beago. Ride can be either on demand or scheduled in advance. सुबह हेतवी को एयरपोर्ट जाना था, उसने रात को ही कैब बुक कर लिया एयरपोर्ट जाने के लिए. That is again something being possible with the help of ride hailing. Now all of these concepts, Parth, Manish, Pankaj, are not a rocket science to us, because we are very much used to these kind of things. Imagine if this question would have come like 15 years back, 10 years back. Then it would have been a wow factor. Oh man, is this possible? क्या ऐसा हो सकता है? But now, when we are automatically in the process of using it and being very used to it, it is not a news to us. We all understand that this is all basic for us, and that's where I love ACCF, because they really touch upon the real life scenarios in terms of giving you something like this. Then we have micro mobility. This is something that what Manish wrote in the text also over here, which says that micro mobility involved a network of shared bicycles available for rent. There is a facility being available in Delhi and of course outside Delhi also, wherein you can go from one place to other on Uber, and when you will drop off, you can take a bicycle from there and of course roam around, and you can throw away bicycle or park your bicycle at some other place and just pay it and move on. Those kind of mobility services are also being available, which is more like last mile kind of mobility that these companies can provide. It offers more active, lower price, environmental friendly, and often more efficient transportation option for shorter trips, specifically during the heavy traffic. It really helps. All right, bicycles are located at fixed docking station in the city location, and of course you can take up and release. Customer use TNC's platform to book and pay for bicycle rentals. After booking, customer receive a code to unlock the bicycle from the docking station, which is a very normal process. The bicycle can then can be returned to any docking station at the end of the rental period. Micro mobility options are often used for the final part of journey, such as traveling from bus or train station to the workplace. Very basic things we all are used to. Of course, the western part of the world is more used to this because bicycles, lanes, and everything are more specifically being made for it. India for now is not there, but you never know when you would get to see something like this very much running in a place like Mumbai, wherein there is right now not even a place for somebody to walk. But who knows down the line that we have something like this specifically being made, considering our environment and the other things into consideration. All right. Now, what is another thing? We have service customer rentals. Customer rental involved partnership between TNCs and local national car rental businesses. You have a local Ramlal and Sons being available in Mumbai who is offering normal cab services. You can collate with them, you can combine their services, wherein they can give you business, you can give businesses to them. Customer can book rental car through TNC's platform. You can book their cabs also through your network, because of course you are a platform, right? You can deal directly with a driver, you can deal directly with a company also that manages those drivers. If you have a transport company, that transport company can also list the services onto the TNC platform, and that's again something that they can really get a business from. All right, customers can arrange car rentals from periods typically ranging from 1 to 14 days. TNC arranges for a driver to pick up and drop off the customers at the car rental business. Car rental business pay a commission to the TNC for each rental booked through TNC's platform. So it's a commission based kind of a thing, very normal thing, but these days these things are really, really popular. Then you have business services, wherein TNCs offer business services to help employees commute effectively and travel to the event and meetings. I have seen this with Air India. We have a premises there in Delhi, wherein all of the Air India air hostesses and pilots are staying for, let's say, short period, for long period, depending upon their travel, depending upon their flights. What happens is that there's a to and fro happening from that place to the airport on an ongoing basis. So those kind of services can also be provided by somebody like Ubers or the Olas of the world, wherein they know that there is a fixed business that will come up, right? They'll just pick up somebody from the Air India premises and of course drop them to the airport, and vice versa too. They can all do that with the help of just click of a button. Businesses use TNCs to provide courtesy transport for customers of the clients. These services help business reduce costs, save time, and streamline their ground transportation services. Do not forget that it's an easy way and easy route to get the business. If I really talk on my customers as to who all are the customers, TNC's customers use TNCs to travel from one point to the other, such as commuting from work, from exploring cities, and to shop for local businesses, and so on and so forth. There is endless reason for somebody to travel. To become a customer, what you really need to do is, we all know this, we all have been doing this. What is that you need to do to make an order on Uber? You just have to make an online account on the Uber's website, TNC's website, or a mobile customer app is something that you need to download. Customer must enter the personal detail, we all know this. They must also input credit or debit card details, as all the payment to TNCs are made electronically through TNC platform. Remember one thing, in this question, he has not touched cash. However, in India, we are very much used to pay cash to the Ubers of the world. In this question, he is not talking about cash. He's saying debit and credit card information is to be uploaded onto the app. Do not forget, when something like this comes up, Krishna Mehta gets up on his seat and he says, "Sir, there would be compliance issues in this. there would be some risk element into this, because credit and debit card information is going on to the platform. So there is a need of confidentiality there. There is a need of protection of a customer there. I'm loving you, Krishna Mehta, for that. Those are the things that should come onto your mind when you're reading something like this. I get that, sir. To book a ride or a ride share, customer must enter to the pickup location and of course the drop off location. The price of the ride is quoted at the point of booking, which the customer must confirm to accept the ride. Notification of the ride request is then automatically sent to the driver. Once the driver has confirmed the acceptance of the ride, customer app notifies to the customer of the driver profile, the vehicle model, vehicle registration number, which allows the customers to check driver's details before getting into the vehicle. Customer app tracks the arrival of the driver in an app that is being linked to the map, so that customer can check progress of the driver's arrival. At the end of the ride, payment is automatically deducted from the customer's bank or the credit card. Is this something I really have to explain, Manish? Nope, because this is something we do on daily basis now. We all have been doing it like anything. Coming on to the drivers. Okay, to drive for TNC, driver must register on TNC's website or driver's app. We all understand that, right? Okay, driver must choose the city in which they really need to drive. Okay, driver must hold the full Beeland driving license and a private car hire license authorized by the local authority of the city they wish to drive in. Now there is a regulatory requirement that is getting into my business. I have to manage these drivers. Okay, the driver must also upload recent photo so that the customer can identify them when they are being picked up. A driver is not authorized to drive until all necessary background checks have been verified, including criminal background, driving offenses, medical health checks, and so on and so forth. Once verified, driver can accept the requested ride. Most TNC require driver to have a vehicle which meets specification related to the age and condition of the vehicle, which must be fully insured. However, driver do not need to own the own vehicle. Many TNC drivers use lease vehicle to drive for TNC, and some TNC offer leasing facility to their drivers. That is again a source of expansion. If I really have to expand, this can also be one of the case wherein if I'm facing some kind of a problem from the driver's end, you never know wherein I want to get into the business of offering more and more cabs, more and more vehicles to my upcoming drivers. In case they are not having money to get their own vehicles, I can also provide them and get this going. That can be something onto the plate, maybe or may not be, but these are things that should start coming onto your mind when you're reading something like this. Alright, drivers do not set their own prices. Each ride price is calculated by TNC and is based on standard rate fare plus charge per kilometer. TNC pay driver between 75% to 85% for the ride price of each ride, which is like 15 to 25% is my operating margin. In Beeland, driver working for TNCs are recognized as independent contractors and not the employees of TNC. This allows drivers to choose their own working hours. Flexibility attract a wide range of drivers, including students, retired people, and part-time workers. Anybody can work for me. They would not be my employees. They'll work on a contract with me, which really reduces a lot of hassles that I may have. At the same time, it also will create a problem because I have to keep doing their background checks. I have to keep doing their annual checks kind of a thing to ensure that everything is being taken care. Is that clear, Ahmed? Is that clear, Ahmed? All right, good. Now this ride hailing and ride sharing process, I have just put it down over here. We have already discussed this. This is more like to give you a glance when you're revising the content towards the end. You can just revise this slide and get it going. We have already read and we have already detailed out the process any which ways. Now some of the industry challenges that really comes your way. Industry challenges can be the TNC's operations are influenced by global economic conditions such as slow growth, recession, or increased fuel cost, which can reduce consumer spending and negatively impact revenues and earnings. Who doesn't know this, Manish? Who doesn't know this? That we are in a business wherein we are impacted by the fuel cost. we are impacted by the recession, we are impacted by the growth of the industry or growth of the country. We all are impacted. If you will not have money, how will you take a cab? You would not, right? And it is something that is that is, I would say, no brainer for that matter. Growth depends on attracting and retaining qualified drivers who meet screening criteria and are willing to work flexible hours for sufficient income. Now this is something which is classical in this business, guys, and I personally feel that this is something that somewhat somewhere would be tested in the exam. This is a business wherein you have two problems to really deal with. On one hand, you have a problem of getting more and more customers, and on the other hand, you have a problem of getting more and more drivers. So you probably have to work both ways in this industry. You cannot have more drivers if you don't have more customers, and you cannot survive with more customers if you do not have enough drivers. So you probably have to play a very smart role in terms of managing that. You have to be very competitive in terms of getting more and more customers, and you have to be very smart in terms of drivers being choosing out you. For example, I can tell you, when InDrive was being introduced in India, most of the drivers of Uber, they went to InDrive. You know why? Because InDrive gives you the base fare, and then you probably have to bid for higher fares. So for example, I'm just making it up. For example, if somebody has to go, let's say, from Mumbai to Pune, let's say the fare of Mumbai to Pune is 5,000 rupees. I'm just making it up, guys. It can be more, it can be less. It's 5,000 rupees. Uber will give you 5,000 rupees as a straight away fare, but InDrive will give you a fare of 4,800 as the base fare, on which driver will probably go and bid something. So in case some driver will say that I'm okay with 4,900, some driver will say 5,100, some driver will say 5,200, 5,300. Customer has an option to choose which driver he wants to choose and move on. That is not there in Uber. So when you are into this business, you have to think about where you can get more money for the drivers too, so that drivers are choosing you. If drivers are not choosing you as an app, then irrespective of how many customers you have, you would not have cab to be provided to them. So you probably would need to deal with two situations in the exam. You might get to see a situation wherein you need an expansion, but you don't have drivers, or there is a problem in terms of retaining the drivers, or there is a problem in terms of getting more customers, and so on and so forth. So there is a problem on both the aspects that you may have to deal with if you are the Ubers of the world. Is that clear? Is that clear, Manish? Do you get that? All right. Okay. Moving on. The TNC operates are influenced by global economic conditions. We have covered that. Growth depends on attracting and retaining qualified drivers. We know that. Failure to retain drivers can lead to complaints, negative publicity, and adverse effects on the customers and business clients. We all understand that. The urbanization increases as urbanization increases and car ownership decreases, maintaining and growing the driver pool would be challenging. That is gonna be the thing. If you'll urbanize the entire economy, who wants to be the driver, right? That's again gonna be a problem in some way or the other. Success also relies on attracting new customers, retaining existing ones, and increasing their usage amidst various transportation requests. I can tell you, if you personally ask me that should I be ordering cab, which app I should be using, I would not use Ola in Delhi, because I personally feel that vehicle that Ola has, they are not that clean. But Uber has more cleaner vehicle, or InDrive has more cleaner vehicle. That's my take on it. That's my experience. If you will give that kind of an experience, you would certainly probably see a decrease or an increase in your business, as the case may be. So you probably have to be very much aware of it. All right, TNC must continually innovate to appeal to new customers who may prefer other forms of transportation or TNC platforms like coupons. Come on, join Uber, first ride free, second ride free, first 3 rides 50% off, whatever. You have to keep attracting something like that. Safety issues such as illegal or improper activities by customers and drivers have harmed the industry reputation, leading to high profile lawsuits. We have seen that in India too, right? There are some very much unforeseen circumstances or unforeseen events that have happened with the drivers, wherein drivers have really taken an advantage of girls, females, or for that matter, various other things that have really gone to the media. If something like this happens, that's a big challenge to the industry. TNC must implement and update measures to safeguard against the activities to maintain the customer and driver retention. The environmental impact of the transportation is a major concern. Should not forget that. When we are into this business, we probably have to see through the fact that we are in the business that is creating pollution. So what is going to be happening from the futuristic standpoint, God only knows that. Some cities in Billund are introducing technologies to manage traffic flow and congestion, potentially disrupting TNC services. Again, it's a big challenge, guys, that we should be aware of. Clean air zones, CAZ, are being introduced in many towns and cities with fees imposed on all drivers in those zones to improve the air quality. We should be aware of it. All right. Some of the recent developments that have been given to you in the pre-scene material is that you have a food delivery now being taken care. TNC in some of the countries have recently started to offer a service where customer can order the food through a dedicated app from a local or a national restaurant. Order are placed via TNC platform and restaurant confirms the order, prepares the food. TNC driver picks it up and delivers the food to the selected destination. Sort of a Swiggy, right? But in this case, that job is being done by an Uber driver who effectively would utilize same route for two different businesses. One to deliver your food, another one to carry the passenger from one location to the other. So it's an effective way of managing it, but God knows how much that is successful. All right. Drivers, which driverless cars, that's again something to look forward. Teslas of the world. Some global TNCs are currently testing the viability of driverless cars to deliver the service. But currently, all such vehicles must operate with at least one supervisory person present in the vehicle. Driverless cars can navigate to the destination, avoiding obstacles without human intervention. To accomplish this, it uses artificial intelligence system which senses its surrounding, processes visual data to avoid collisions, steers, brakes, and uses GPS to track locations and destinations. I've only heard it, I've not seen it myself, but there are some locations in US wherein this has already started happening, wherein they have driverless cars being available, especially in the taxi mode, only to run between some specified areas for now, and they are running effectively. I've not seen it, as I said myself, but I've heard it. That's gonna be the future for this. Electric vehicle, we all understand that is certainly gonna be something that's gonna be there on the cards. Some of the KPIs that they've given, they have really talked about various KPIs that are there, which is very normal ones for us. They have the number of active customers, as many as possible are good. Number of active drivers, I would say maximum of that would be really nice. Rides completed, we would want as max as possible to happen. Revenue, of course, we understand that. Net promoter score, which is nothing but the customer satisfaction, and a loyalty rating. Higher the score, right? When you're completing the trip, right, you have to give your stars to the driver. That's again something to look forward to. Driver satisfaction. How satisfied is the driver with InDrive or Ola or Uber for that matter? Depending upon how much he would be satisfied with a particular app, he would want to take business from that particular app. So if you now would see the drivers running out in Delhi, Mumbai, or wheresoever, they have all the apps being installed into their own phones. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 phones also. They choose that I'm okay with Uber, I'm not okay with Ola, or or vice versa. In Mumbai, I've seen most of the vendors, they take Savari. I remember there's a app named Savari in Mumbai. I'm sure I have many students from Mumbai who are there right now. They can very well vouch for it. That Savari is one of the most prominent used cab in Mumbai, wherein if you really specifically have to go from one state to the other, Savari is the cheapest and probably the best one, and so on and so forth. So if you're not able to entice your driver will not choose you for that for that particular purpose. Now, pre-scene material also talks upon the regulation that are relevant from the industry standpoint, which is Beeline currently lacks overall standards for TNC regarding the operational requirement, technology, data security, driver status, or environmental impact expectation, which effectively makes me feel, Parth, that there can be a regulatory change also that can come up in the country that may impact my business. So Pestle can be an area that can be tested in the exam in some way or the other. I should be prepared with that. All right. In some countries, drivers have formed trade unions and driver network association, giving them a collective voice. Again, a risk area, maybe a part of risk register that I should have. That this is again a risk to be looked upon. These union and associations have been popular with drivers and have successfully challenged TNC in the legal system to recognize their employment right and the status, which is certainly gonna be a case. I personally feel that this is an area wherein you would get to see something in the exam, wherein you may test your skill that do you recognize that this kind of an issue can also come in. Coming on to the company now, we are done with the industry, we are done with TNCs at large. Now is a time wherein we'll touch upon the Beago as to what our company is gonna be all about. All right, guys, moving on to the overview of the company that we have. We were established 12 years ago by Ed Foss and Kim Lee, okay, who had previously managed the mobile app development business. So effectively, our owners, our founders, are the veterans from the industry, which is good. They founded Beago after recognizing the need for more convenient and cost-effective transport option in the Beeline cities based on their own commuting challenges. So they've made it for themselves and then they of course replicated it. The initial focus was on encouraging the ride sharing, although both ride sharing and ride hailing services were offered. Initially, they were more in terms of ride sharing. Okay, Beago started with the basic website, mobile app, and few drivers, but quickly saw high demand for its services, which is good. Supported by venture capitalist investors, Beago grew rapidly over 16 million active customers by the end of 2003, with the prediction of to reach 19 million by the end of 2004, which is a huge in terms of the growth that they've observed and that they're looking at. All right. We have two graphs being available. Beago registered and the active customers are really increasing. Number of cities in which Beago operates is also going very high, which is really good, right, from the business standpoint. If I really talk on the ownership of Beago, again, that's an important point. Beago was listed on the Beeline stock market 5 years ago. So we got listed 5 years ago. 80% of our shares are being held by large institutional investor. 10% of its shares are held by original founders and remaining shares are being held by small private investors. Services offered by Beago, ride hailing and ride sharing, which is good. We have both of them. Currently, over 70% of the Beago's revenue come from ride hailing services. Okay, ride sharing is still in demand, particularly among students and lower income customers, but it only generates 12% of the Beago's revenue. So what we started off with is only giving me 12% of the revenue. Most of the revenue is coming from my ride hailing services. We should know that. Coming on to micro mobility, 5 years ago, Beago acquired national micro mobility business, adding bicycle hire to its service. Environmentally friendly bicycle hire option have become very popular with the customers in Beeline. In last 2 years, Beago has heavily invested in infrastructure to support growing demand of micro mobility. Okay, I've already invested. Do not forget that I've already invested. I have to see what kind of return I'm able to generate, or what is that I should be doing from the futuristic standpoint if this is not resulting in the number that I wanted. Okay, Beago currently operates micro mobility services in over 100 cities across Beeline. Remember, I was in 250 cities. Right now, I'm only having this in 100 cities. 150 cities are to be there as an expansionary mode for me. Do you get that? Yes, sir. It has over 9 million active users for its micro mobility service. I have huge number to take care of, my friend. In case I have to increase this, I still have a 17-18 million people already with me. So I have a scope of, I would say increase over here. Business services, 2 years ago, Beago partnered with several national organizations to transport their staff to and from the workplace and meeting events, and to transport customers and clients from one meeting to the other. Hotel, airport, train and bus stations, which is again good thing to have. If you really see this pie chart, this effectively tells you that 72% of the revenue comes from ride hailing, 12% from ride sharing, 11% from micro mobility, which can certainly go up, and of course business services is 5%. So effectively I have the model being there with me. Ride hailing is 72%, which may not be environmental friendly. Something that is being environment friendly, which is ride sharing, is only 12%. Okay. Micro mobility, again environmental friendly, is 11%. Do we have a scope of improvement there? Answer is absolutely yes. Do you have a scope of improvement in business services? Answer is absolutely yes. Do we have something coming onto your mind? Do you have these thoughts now really bothering you? टक्कर खा रहे हैं दिमाग में थॉट्स? नहीं खा रहे तो बॉस ये पक्का से आने चाहिए. ये बहुत ही बेसिक चीज़ें हैं. I'm only trying to sow the seeds into your mind in terms of how you should be thinking about. The more, Ahmed, you would be thinking about this in this direction, the better placed you are in terms of handling that in the best possible way in the exam. हेतवी जी, संजय भारत जी, कृष्णा मेहता जी, मैं बोल रहा हूँ इसका ये मतलब नहीं है फटाफट से कैमरा स्विच ऑफ किया और इधर उधर चले गए. बॉस, I will not be sharing recording of this session to the people who are not switching on their cameras. Be ready for it, guys. I want you guys to be concentrating on this session. Come what may. BCG matrix test हो सकता है, बिल्कुल हो सकता है. You would certainly, you never know. I would not give you any model per se that can be tested, but you should be knowing that these are the problems, these are the issues that are really coming your way. And of course, then you can decide which model to be applied where. BCG model will only come up when you do a, sort of a cost benefit analysis of various options that are being given to you, and you have enough money to see through that, which place you would be putting your money on. All right. Now there are things that are being mentioned in the pre-scene material, which certainly says that I'm using my website and mobile apps. I have a payment processing software. I have a customer and the drivers database, which is huge in size. I have a GPS software, which is again something which is very much needed. So effectively, this concentrates, guys, on the technology that I'm using. You may get to see a discussion in the exam wherein they may be contemplating on the technological change of a platform. So you may have to see through that, what works better for a firm like this. But whenever you have to think about this, Manish, Pankaj, Ahmed, Parth, Hetvi, you have to really step into the shoe of Ubers or the Olas of the world and see through as to what works well for them or what would work better for them. Do not forget that. Remember Raft P, you have to understand your role come what may. You have to understand your industry come what may. Do not really forget that. I'm speaking like a broken record, guys, but this is certainly gonna be game changer for you. The more you would remember that, the more you would know that, the more you would not do that mistake come what may. Is that clear, guys? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on. Beago has commercial agreement with Beeland-based cloud service provider. Okay, so if they effectively are saving the data on the cloud. So data which is like drivers data, customer data. Imagine, kind of data that Uber would have. Uber would have Manish's number, my number, Ahmed number, Parth number, everybody's number, email ID, all of that detail is there on the cloud. Do you have a cyber security issue there? You may have it. You may have a cyber security issue there. In case that cloud-based service goes for a toss, what would happen? In case that cloud goes for a toss, what would happen to the business? It's a huge loss. It's a big time loss. You have a huge risk there. Think about it. Think it from that perspective. The platform is crucial for managing millions of daily rides and provide insight for the further technology development. Beago uses historical and real-time data to improve experiences for the drivers and customers, analyzing the entire ride life cycle, which is good. Machine learning capabilities help Beago predict future behavior and historical data to enhance service development, which is again good. Beago relies on technology for attracting new drivers and customers through various channels, including video, social media, SEO, and so on and so forth, which is a good one to really do. We have not seen anything on referrals over here. I think referral would have been also a good thing that they could have done in case they want more and more drivers. Referral again something they can look forward to. Current customer engagement is managed through online media, including emails, in-app notification, and social media content. Beago marketing messages. We go with Beago. We go with Beago. I love this comment. I love this slogan also in a way that yes, they have really worked it very well. Some of the things that you would see from the costing standpoint, if you will see over here, you have research and design cost, which is huge, right? 1127 in number. As far as staff is concerned, in percentage 22%. Product management is 820, and of course, you can see through. And one thing that you would reckon over here is that drivers are not recognized as employees, so drivers are not coming despite the fact that revenue comes from the drivers. So this is a business wherein they are employing so many people but the drivers, but revenue is being made by the drivers. That is a classical I would say difference of this business, because those who are really getting you revenue, they're not your employees but your contractors. People who are really your employees are managing nothing but the technology. Is that clear, Ahmed? Ahmed, is that clear? Ahmed is still. Manish, is that okay? All right, fair enough, guys. Coming on to some of the leadership structure that we have, they have shown the non-executive chairperson, and then they have non-executive directors into 6, which is 6 is a number. They have chief executive officer, chief finance officer, chief technology officer, chief commercial officer, people officer, and marketing officer. Mix seemingly looks good to me in terms of what they really have as a leadership structure. They do have an extract from the leadership risk register, Beago's risk register, which I think we have discussed, because if you really see, most of the risks that we have really spoken about are there in their risk register. They have risk of reputation, brand, and culture. They do feel that if something goes wrong, either by a driver or if for any other purpose or any other reason, they would certainly have a big time issue on their reputation and of course the brand. Technology infrastructure is a big time thing. If technology of Uber or Ola goes down, God knows what business they would have. So they really have to be spending good amount of money in terms of ensuring that their infrastructure is always taken care and there are no issues in that, come what may. Competition is again a risk there, because it's a business wherein you have to manage both, right? You have to manage the customer and you have to manage the driver. So there is always a risk that your driver goes to competition and your customer also goes to competition. So you have to manage both the risks over here. Licensing and industry regulation. So we have seen cities regulations are different. Drivers regulation is something that we need to manage. Cars regulation is something that we need to manage. The TNC's regulation is something that we need to manage, and so on and so forth. Again, that is something to be taken care. We do have some website extracts being given. I do want you to have that in your heart, in your mind, because come what may, this value, vision, and mission has to be part of your answer in some way or the other. Wheresoever you think that there is a need to mention that what is being spoken aligns with the mission or the values of the organization, you should be mentioning that. From the strategic business leader standpoint, the having a mission, vision, and values at the back of your mind is always important in whatsoever decision you make, and you have to demonstrate that in the exam. So wheresoever you can write that this really aligns with the mission of the organization, vision of the organization, or the values of the organization, examiner would certainly feel happy for it. Do not miss on that. Now, committed to safety, again, there is a lot that company has spoken out in terms of ensuring that they are really committed to the security, whether it is having an annual background checks being done, continuous criminal monitoring of the drivers being done, having the safety programs for the drivers, having the help button in the car, which is like they can press and they can be tracked. Customer having access to the friends and family notification system, which can notify where your sister or your mother or your wife is. That's again something that is important. Most of our drivers' vehicles are equipped with the cameras. Many of these vehicles that they've mentioned, they have inside cameras also, in addition to having an outside camera, which is again a big plus. Data privacy and storage, I think it's gonna be a big time issue in this industry. Data privacy and storage is certainly gonna be somewhere in your exam, I can tell you. I personally feel that this is a hot topic, and this is certainly gonna be somewhere in some shape or format in the form of question in the exam. At the end of each ride, driver customers must rate the ride. We all understand that. We have been doing that any which ways. Committed to the environment, of course. Since this is an industry, this is gonna be one of the problems that the industry may have, because you may have to deal with the kind of environmental issue that your industry is really getting you exposed to. So they always encourage customers to take the shared rides. they continue to further invest in micro mobility infrastructure. So that's again something to be specifically known, and of course being there with your heart and mind. They launch in-app feature of customer to be able to request for electric and hybrid vehicles, again very forward looking thing. And we do not own the vehicles used by the drivers. We will continue to find ways to incentivize more drivers to use more environmentally sustainable vehicles. So there can be something wherein you may come up with a driver scheme wherein if driver is using electrical vehicle, then they are being paid more and commission is less over there, and so on and so forth. So that's again can be a step for you to really promote this. And there can be any other steps, right? There can be many steps like that, but those are the things that should really come onto your mind when you are really talking on something like this. KPIs, if I really talk on revenue, we are really doing good in terms of revenue. We are really doing good in terms of our active customer base. The way it is increasing is something, very relishing. Rides completed is also going very, very nice. Percentage of revenue per service, I think it is changing from 2009 to say 2009 to 2013. It is changing, but in a way it is seemingly in control. But what I feel is that this effectively makes me feel that uh, the the micro mobility or the business services is something I have to think differently from the long term standpoint. I have to invest in them more strategically. Net promoter score seemingly is declining or has declined and is now picking up. So there is something that can come up on this area wherein you may see that customer is not giving you good feedback. So if that is the case, you probably have to work towards it, because that effectively would mean that your customers will not give you a repeat order. So that is again something to be looked upon. Driver satisfaction rate is also falling. That is again something to be looked upon. So those are the two, I would say, red flags that I could see, that I do want to highlight, that this is something. Now think about it, that if the driver satisfaction rate is falling, what should you be doing? Think about 4 or 5 things. Think about what you should be doing in case you're having a low NPS. What can we do differently? What can we do more? And so on and so forth. Start thinking about it. What can we do different? That's basically brings me to the end, guys. This was what the entire the the pre-scene material was all about. I have tried giving you, I can tell you, uh, the detailed synopsis. It's not a synopsis, it's effectively a detailed overview of what the pre-scene material is all about and what you should be thinking about. I've given you the problem areas. I've given you, the problem of the risks that they have, the problem of the regulation or the compliances that they may have, the business problems that they have, the drivers, the customers, the technological issue that you may get exposed to, the expansionary areas that you can really look forward to. The geographical expansion is also something that can be on the cards. The acquisition is something again that can be on the cards. You can also see an issue with the drivers union. You can also see some cyber security issue. There can be any number of things that can really come your way. But all I'm trying to do over here is that you should now be thinking it more holistically, like an Uber of the world. Now, whenever Manish gets something on this in the exam, Manish should think himself to be the Uber of the world. And then Manish should be answering it that yes, if this is this, I know this is what I would be doing in that kind of a scenario. There is nothing else that is needed, guys. What I've done in like hour and a half, I can tell you now, when you would read the pre-scene material, it will be just like this. Because now you would just know the content, now you would just know the basics. It will save a hell lot of your time in terms of going through the content and of course consuming it. I would be sharing these slides with you. You can really have it with you. Go through this. We will anyway be coming up with a revert on your mock exams in a day or two. You would see a revert coming from me. We may have another call also during the weekend in terms of taking any kind of further doubts that you may have. And I'm sure, if you have really followed what is being said, I don't think there is anything that should trouble you in any way or the other. Do you get that, guys? Any question, anyone, guys? I hope this was helpful, guys, in terms of at least having a really hang of the areas that you really targeting. Go ahead, Akshay, you were saying something.
So understand, like, if we have to raise any capital now, we are talking at the start, we raised capital through venture capitalist. Then, now at this time, we have a lot of institutional investor. So they'll think about the short term thing, is what I understand from the theory point of view. Okay. But, and the original founder
No,
said that
Akshay, no. They're always long term. They're always long term.
because they'll think more of the return from a short term perspective, for institution at least.
See, they
See,
you should see that they are already invested for last 5 years.
Okay.
So I haven't got any idea, at least from the pre-scene material, that they are looking short term. 5 years is a decent period for any investor to stay.
Okay.
Generally, private equities, you know what they do? They do a turnaround in 2 to 3 years of time and then they get out. At least I have not got that feeler here. I'm not saying that, the question cannot turn around and say something different. But as of now, I have not got that feeler.
Okay. But if we have to invest, like, then what route should be taken? Because if we have to invest like in a business service to grow it, because now at this point I am heavily invested in micro mobility for the future growth. Business service, like you said, is a question mark for BCG, according to me. So that is as a growth perspective. So which finance would I think about then more?
See, it depends. It depends that what is my cash position right now. That can only be understood once you have seen the financials. Let's say you are good in terms of your current asset or a cash balance, then there is no need any which ways to run, because none of the things in the pre-scene material says that there is a problem anywhere, at least as on date. Now, let's say in the exam he says that you have a cash crunch or you have a problem and you want to invest or you want investor, right? So I do feel that on one hand they can dilute more, even the owners can dilute more, that's again, or you never know if there is a loan opportunity also being available. Generally these companies are not capital intensive. Generally these companies are not, because they invest more on the recurring expenses. Once they have made the platform, then to they invest more on the recurring expenses, unless there is some huge technological change that they really want to bring up. But generally you would not find Ubers or the Olas of the world having huge capital invested into their company.
Okay.
Sir, any questions or ideas as to the questions which can be asked? Hetvi, I do not preempt the questions. I only preempt the areas. So I would not tell you that, and neither ACCA really says or wants us to really start telling you that this is the question that may be asked. We can only tell you the areas, and I've spoken many areas during my presentation wherein something on this might come up. So I will not preempt any questions. Because honestly speaking, questions are dependent on which direction he wants you to take. So I don't know if he says in the exam that you are doing any technological change. I don't know if he says that you are not doing any technological change, but your current technology is having a bug that you need to correct. Or you may get to see a scenario wherein he says that your current technology is really doing good, but you have a problem in terms of managing that because you're not having educated people or right people to skill set to manage it. So you never know what kind of problems really come your way. So I will not predict that, but I'm only trying to give you the scenarios which can really get set. Sorry, somebody was saying something.
So from growth prospects, as in, do we talk about directly? We can just pick it up from the TNC service thing over, because they are talking about 4 services for Beago, but in TNC they're talking about the latest development as well as the leasing factor as well. So do we directly take it from there then?
Answer is yes, but मुझे ऐसा लगता है अक्षय आप कुछ और भी ऐड कर सकते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आजकल अगर आप वो पढ़ोगे ना, तो कुछ ऐसे नए स्टार्टअप्स आ रहे हैं जिसके अंदर उन्होंने ना एक नई फैसिलिटी शुरू करी, एंड दिस इज़ मोर टू गिव कंपटीशन टू प्लेयर्स लाइक एविस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, जहाँ पे उन्होंने शुरू किया कि काम करो, लेट्स से अक्षय गोज टू लद्दाख, आई एम जस्ट मेकिंग इट अप, राइट? सो यू लैंड ऑन ले, एंड ले पे आपको क्या करेंगे, आपको ना एक बाइक मिल जाएगी। वो बाइक उबर की बाइक होगी, बट वो बाइक वहाँ खड़ी होगी एयरपोर्ट पे ही। आप जाओ, आप वो बाइक को पिक करो, लद्दाख घूमो और वापस आके एयरपोर्ट पे बाइक खड़ी कर देना और आ जाना, एंड ऑफ कोर्स यू विल पे द रेंट फॉर इट। अब वो बाइक किसकी है? कोई जो ले लद्दाख में है उसकी बाइक है, बट वो बाइक उसने ऊबर को रेंट करी हुई है, और ऊबर जो है वो अपने प्लेटफॉर्म से उसको रेंट करे जा रहा है टू द पीपल हु आर ट्रैवलिंग टू लद्दाख। अनदर काइंड ऑफ सर्विस, राइट? Another kind of stream of revenue. They have not mentioned it.
Customer rentals.
Sorry?
Something on the lines of service customer rentals, you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying they have not mentioned it. But you have to think out of the box in terms of thinking through, अच्छा क्या क्या और हो सकता है? हो सकता है ना हो सकता है जो सर्विस मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ इसी का क्वेश्चन आ जाए एग्जाम में, that they are contemplating something like this. What is your take on it? You never know, right? But all I'm trying to say is that whatsoever that really comes to your mind, think it from the perspective of you being the Ubers of the world. Think it that you are the Uber. You would see कि अच्छा मेरे को अभी बिजनेस कहाँ से मिल रहा है, कहाँ से कितना कितना मिल रहा है, मैं किसको एक्सपैंड करूँ तो मुझे हेल्प करे प्रॉफिट में ही नहीं, एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली होने में भी, मुझे हेल्प करे मेरे ड्राइवर्स को बढ़ाने में, मुझे हेल्प करे मेरे कस्टमर्स को बढ़ाने में। बिकॉज मैं फिर बोल रहा हूँ, इस केस के अंदर एक प्रॉब्लम पक्का से है कि यहाँ पे सिर्फ कस्टमर प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, यहाँ सप्लायर भी प्रॉब्लम है। जनरली बिजनेस में एक प्रॉब्लम होती है बॉस, जनरली इन एनी बिजनेस, फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स से इन माई बिजनेस, प्रॉब्लम इज नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, नॉट द टीचर्स। ओवर हियर you would have both the problems. You would have problem of a more and more customers, as well as problem of more and more drivers and more vehicles. तो व्हीकल्स भी चाहिए, ड्राइवर्स भी चाहिए, कस्टमर्स भी चाहिए, और सेटिस्फाइड चाहिए दोनों। बिकॉज ड्राइवर सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है तो वो किसी और ऐप पे चला जाएगा, स्टूडेंट सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है, सॉरी कस्टमर पैसेंजर सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है तो वो भी चला जाएगा। यू गेट माई पॉइंट अक्षय? बड़ी धीरे से आवाज है अक्षय।
Yes, sir. So one more thing I had, one second. I'm just thinking on how to ask now. If
Pankaj, you were saying something?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Just a small thing. In the last slide, sir, आपने बोला था कि ये issues है कि रिव्यू डाउन जा रहा है और ड्राइवर्स भी सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है। So, like, what could be the reasons for this? And if there is a question that we need to resolve this issue, so how to, means in which direction we should be?
चलो सोचते हैं पंकज, इसको ना सोचते हैं। लेट्स से मेरा ड्राइवर सेटिस्फैक्शन रेट कम है, राइट? इसका एक मतलब ये हो सकता है कि मैं कमीशन ज़्यादा ले रहा हूँ। इसका ये मतलब हो सकता है कि मैं रेगुलर बिजनेस नहीं दे रहा हूँ फॉर वट एवर रीज़न, राइट? हो सकता है मैं रेगुलर बिजनेस नहीं दे रहा हूँ मेरे ड्राइवर को। हो सकता है मेरी रेगुलेटरी नॉर्म्स मैं बहुत ज़्यादा तंग कर रहा हूँ, मैं अपने मेरे सिस्टम्स इतने एफिशिएंट नहीं हैं कि मेरा ड्राइवर जो है वो कन्वीनियंटली खुश रहे। मेरे सिस्टम ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे मैं ऑपरेशनली बहुत तंग कर रहा हूँ उसको। हो सकता है कि मैं जो पैसे देता हूँ वो टाइमली पे नहीं करता हूँ, राइट? कुछ भी हो सकता है। आई एम जस्ट मेकिंग इट अप। आई एम अगेन, मैं ऊबर के उसमें स्टेप इन कर रहा हूँ और मैं फिर सोच रहा हूँ इस बिज़नेस में क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं। अब जहाँ मुझे प्रॉब्लम पता है, मान लो मेरे दिमाग में 4 या 5 प्रॉब्लम आ गई, तो सोल्यूशन मैं अपने आप निकालना शुरू हो जाऊँगा। टाइम पे अब उल्टा ही है ना, सोल्यूशन तो उल्टे हैं। टाइम पे पेमेंट करो, अपने उसको कम करो, एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इश्यूज़ को कम करो, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। सो सोल्यूशंस तो मेरे सारे उल्टे हैं। प्रॉब्लम सोचनी है मैं उल्टा सोचता हूँ। मेरा कस्टमर सेटिस्फाई नहीं है, क्यों नहीं है? हो सकता है मेरी गाड़ियाँ गंदी हों, हो सकता है मेरे ड्राइवर्स जो हैं वो फ्रेंडली ना हो, वो एजुकेटेड ना हो, वो ढंग से बात ना करते हो, उनका फीडबैक अच्छा ना आता हो, वो पैसे के लिए तंग करते हैं। हो सकता है मेरे सिस्टम में कोई इशू है जिस वजह से पेमेंट अटक जाता है उनका, या क्रेडिट कार्ड वाले इश्यूज हो जाते हैं। हो सकता है मेरे रेट ज़्यादा है, मेरे कॉम्पिटिटर से मेरे रेट ज़्यादा हैं, तो कोई राइड उन्हें 300 की मिलती है, मैं 500 की दे रहा हूँ, तो प्रॉब्लम है। हो सकता है मेरे कार के अंदर उन्हें सेफ्टी नहीं लगती, सेफ्टी इश्यूज लगते हैं उसमें, या एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। सो मुझे उन इश्यूज़ पे काम करना है। सो इनका कोई स्ट्रेट आंसर नहीं है पंकज, देयर कैन बी एन नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स, बट जो तुम्हारे मन में 3 4 5 चीज़ें आए उनको उठाओ और उनका सोल्यूशन दो। बट एक चीज़ बेटा बिल्कुल ध्यान रखना, जो मिस नहीं करना, वो ये कि ऊबर बन जाना एग्जाम में। अगर ऊबर नहीं बनोगे तो उस हिसाब से सोच नहीं पाओगे, और नहीं सोच पाओगे तो कंसर्न बन जाएगा। अच्छा, मैंने ना मनीष, आपने ना एक ड्राइवर सेफ्टी की चीज़ लिखी, मैं ना आपको इसमें एक पर्सपेक्टिव दूंगा जो बड़ा रेलेवेंट पॉइंट है आपका। ड्राइवर की ना सेफ्टी पैसेंजर से भी होनी ज़रूरी है। मैं आपको बताता हूँ, मेरे ऑफिस में जो ऑफिस बॉय है ना, उसका ब्रदर ऊबर ड्राइव करता है, और एक नाइट को जब वो ऊबर ड्राइव कर रहा था तो वो उसने जिस पैसेंजर को बिठाया, वो पैसेंजर ड्रिंक किए हुए था, या एक्स था या वाई था जी था, उस पैसेंजर ने उससे पैसे भी ले लिए और उसको मारा भी, एंड दिस एंड दैट। सो ये भी एक बिज़नेस का न्यूएंस है, राइट, कि ये भी प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है। अब वो ड्राइवर क्या करेगा उसमें, और ऊबर क्या करेगी? ऊबर तो नहीं देख पाएगी कि किसने पी रखी है किसने नहीं पी रखी है, एंड so on so forth. So that's again a problem that is there. And at the same time, somebody being harassed in the cab or molested in the cab is a problem that Uber has to deal with. You can't give a moral certificate to the drivers. So how do we deal with it? There is a need for proper training. There is a need for proper education being given. There is a need for having the right, I would say, knowledge of what is right, what is wrong being given. There is a need for telling them that what can go wrong if they do something like that, and so on and so forth. So that kind of an education is important.
So इसमें कंट्रोल एक्टिविटीज क्या Beago अपनी तरफ से कर सकता है जिससे वो ये इंश्योर कर सके कि उनके जो ड्राइवर्स हैं वो प्रॉपरली कस्टमर्स के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट कर रहे हैं, जो कि एक सही वे में हो। क्योंकि अगर हम रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो भी देखें तो जितने भी वो क्वेश्चनर्स होते हैं, या मतलब हमारे पर्सपेक्टिव में वो सिर्फ एक सरफेस लेवल ही होता है। सो कंपनी के पास एक ट्रू डेटा नहीं होता है जिससे वो एक सही डिसीजन पर पहुंच सके।
देखो, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इट विल बी फंक्शन ऑफ 3 थिंग्स। 1, राइट ट्रेनिंग। 2, मैं इसको शायद पहले बोलूँगा, फर्स्ट राइट हायरिंग। जब आप हायर करो तो क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड चेक करो, बैकग्राउंड चेक करो, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। सेकंड, राइट ट्रेनिंग। जब आप हायर करो तो उसे ट्रेन करो, पॉश एक्टिविटी समझाओ उसे, मेल फीमेल के जो इश्यूज होते हैं वो समझाओ, उसके रिपरकशंस बताओ, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। तीसरा, इफेक्टिव मॉनिटरिंग। You probably have to see through that any feedback that really comes your way, which may not be that grave, बट इवन इफ वो कुछ और ऐसा डाल रहा है जो, मान लेते हैं somebody says that I was not comfortable with this driver the way he was looking at me, वो whatever, right, किसी ने ऐसा कुछ डाला, so it's enough a scenario for you to understand that things are not right. So right hiring coupled with right training and then of course right monitoring is the only way out. There is nothing else.
Sir, this is regarding sorry. Yeah, please continue.
सर एक चीज और थी कि माइक्रो मोबाइल जो बाइक टैक्सीज थी उसके बारे में बात हो रही थी, और क्या हम इसमें फ्यूल ऑप्शंस का भी एक चीज दे सकते हैं कि जैसे दिल्ली में फॉर एग्जांपल सीएनजी टैक्सीज ही कंपलसरी हैं, तो क्या हम उसमें इस तरीके से लिख सकते हैं कि पेट्रोल या डीजल पे ना जाकर वो अगर सीएनजी जैसी कोई व्हीकल यूज करे तो क्या वो एक सही चीज होगी?
देखो, उन्होंने ना लिखा नहीं है सीएनजी, और सीएनजी ना हर कंट्री में होती नहीं है, तो आपको उसने इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल क्लियरली लिखा है, तो मैं मनीष लॉजिकली मैं इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल की तरफ जाऊंगा, मैं सीएनजी की तरफ नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं एक नया तार नहीं छेड़ूंगा। हाँ, पर मैं एक चीज़ ये ज़रूर बोलूँगा, पता है, कि जब भी इस तरह की चीज़ें आए ना, तो इसका ना एक कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस देख लेना। मतलब मैं आंख बंद करके ये नहीं कहूँगा कि ईवी ही बेटर है, बिकॉज कमर्शियल अक्यूमेंट में ना मेरे को वहाँ समझना पड़ेगा कि वो प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल भी है या नहीं, कि कितने ड्राइवर ईवी ले रहे हैं। पता चले ड्राइवर ईवी नहीं ले रहे और मैं ईवी से रिलेटेड कोई पॉलिसी लेके आ जाऊँ, तो वो मैंने बना तो दी पॉलिसी इन्वायरमेंट को ध्यान में रखते हुए, बट बॉस वो बिजनेस के लिए तो हार्म हो गया ना, बिकॉज वो अल्टीमेटली मेरे पास ड्राइवर ही नहीं होने वाले, मेरे पे गाड़ी ही नहीं है। सो वो आई हैव टू मेंटेन ए वेरी स्मार्ट बैलेंस ओवर देयर कि गुड टू हैव है, मस्ट टू हैव है, क्या है, प्रॉब्ली गुड टू हैव है। देर इज अ डिफरेंट वे टू प्रमोट मनीष। फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंडिया में भी अगर प्रमोट करना है ना मुझे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल, तो सरकार ये नहीं कह रही कि पेट्रोल के व्हीकल बंद कर दो, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल ही मिलेंगे कल से सबको। सरकार ये कहती है नहीं, आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल लोगे ना तो हम आपको ना इसका रजिस्ट्रेशन अमाउंट पे ना डिस्काउंट देंगे, इसका रजिस्ट्रेशन है ना बहुत कम पैसे में होगा। सो दे आर प्रमोटिंग इट इन ए डिफरेंट वे। वैसे ही हमें यहाँ प्रमोट करना पड़ेगा। मैं आऊँगा आपकी जगह तो मैं बोलूँगा अच्छा मेरे को इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल प्रमोट करना है, तो मैं ड्राइवर को ये बोलता हूँ कि अगर आपको इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल होगा तो आपकी कमीशन 25% से 10% हो जाएगी, तो आप ज़्यादा कमाओगे, तो लो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल। तो मैं प्रमोट करूँगा उसको, बट मैं मैंडेटरी नहीं करूँगा। आप समझ रहे हो मनीष मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ?
यस सर।
पंकज आप कुछ कह रहे थे?
सर कमिंग बैक टू दैट पॉइंट रिगार्डिंग ड्राइवर सेफ्टी व्हिच मनीष रेज्ड, तो उसमें कस्टमर सेफ्टी के लिए तो हमारे पास कंट्रोल पॉइंट्स है कि जैसे ड्राइवर्स का क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड, बैकग्राउंड चेक, ट्रेनिंग, रेगुलर मॉनिटरिंग कर सकते हैं, पर ड्राइवर सेफ्टी के लिए हम लोग कस्टमर्स के लिए कैसे चेक कर सकते, मतलब उसके लिए कंट्रोल पॉइंट क्या है कि हाउ टू इंश्योर ड्राइवर सेफ्टी?
देखो लॉजिकल आंसर इसका पंकज ये है कि आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, राइट? बट इसको ना थोड़ा सा और होलिस्टिक सोचते हैं। मैं एक चीज़ कर सकता हूँ कि अगर मैंने मान लेते हैं अक्षय गाड़ी में बैठा और अक्षय ने गाड़ी में बैठ के ड्राइवर को मारा, तो आई विल इंश्योर कि अक्षय दोबारा ऊबर ना ले सके। वो पोस्ट फैक्टो है, राइट? बट हो कुछ तो करोगे ही, कुछ, हर चीज़ का प्रिएम्प्टिव कंट्रोल शायद ना हो, बट कुछ तो हो ही सकता है। या मैं ड्राइवर्स को ऐसे ट्रेन करूं कि ऐसे सिनेरियो में ड्राइवर को क्या करना चाहिए, ड्राइवर को बाहर निकल जाना चाहिए, ड्राइवर को पुलिस स्टेशन चला जाना चाहिए, मैं उसकी ट्रेनिंग वैसे करूं। कोई सही आंसर नहीं है पंकज। फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिगो की एयरलाइन में किसी ने बैठ के किसी XYZ चीज़ कर दी, राइट? अब इंडिगो क्या करेगी? इंडिगो थोड़ी अपने कस्टमर को बोलते हैं कि आप ये कर लो वो कर लो। अक्षय ने लिखा कि कैमरा इनसाइड कार्स, इनसाइड जो कैमराज हैं कैन बी ए टेस्टिमनी टू द फैक्ट कि ऐसा कुछ गलत हुआ है, तो क्रिमिनल केस हो जाएगा उसके ऊपर। बट है तो वो भी पोस्ट फैक्टो ही, अक्षय है तो वो भी पोस्ट फैक्टो ही। तो देर इज नो राइट और रॉन्ग आंसर टू इट, बट ऑल ऑफ दीज आर थॉट्स। तो अपने अपने थॉट्स देके आने हैं वहाँ पर।
सर इसका ये शायद सही आंसर हो सकता है कि जब कस्टमर्स का जो ऐप इंटरफेस है उसमें एक SOS का बटन होता है, तो वो हम ड्राइवर को भी दे सकते हैं, जिससे कि वो जो रिएक्टिव एक्शन जो शायद आधे घंटे बाद हो सकता था वो 15 मिनट में हो जाए। तो इट कैन बी अ गुड सॉल्यूशन और एक अच्छा मिड में रह सकते हैं।
बिल्कुल हो सकता है। सी पॉइंट्स ऑफ स्टार्ट का प्रॉब्लम जब सोच लोगे ना तो सोल्यूशन की तरफ ज़्यादा ध्यान जाता है। बट प्रॉब्लम ये होती है हमें प्रॉब्लम नहीं कई बार पता चलती है, और प्रॉब्लम तब पता चलेगी जब अक्षय ऊबर बन जाएगा। अक्षय जैसे ही ऊबर बन जाएगा प्रॉब्लम समझ आनी शुरू हो जाएंगी। मैं कई बार क्लास में भी बोलता हूँ बॉस, स्टील की इंडस्ट्री का केस है तो स्टील वाले बन जाओ, जूते की इंडस्ट्री का केस है तो शू सेलर बन जाओ। यू चेंज योर थॉट प्रोसेस। अब तो हमें पता है कौन सा है, हमें पता है कि हम ऊबर हैं, तो हमारा हर थॉट प्रोसेस ऊबर के तरह से होना चाहिए।
सर एक क्वेश्चन था।
बोले सर।
हाँ, एक्चुअली अभी ये मार्केट भी ग्रोइंग है, तो सपोज कि कोई न्यू कॉम्पिटिटर को अगर एंटर करना है तो वो उसके लिए इजी है कि टफ है? बिकॉज उसमें लाइसेंस बोला तो है कि लाइसेंस चाहिए, बट एक्वायरिंग लाइसेंस मतलब इजी होगा कि टफ होगा?
देखो पार्थ, मुझे ऑनेस्टली ऐसा लगता है ये इंडस्ट्री में ना एंट्रेंस टफ है, आसान नहीं है। उसका ना सबसे बड़ा कारण ये है कि टेक्नोलॉजी में जो इन्वेस्टमेंट चाहिए या एज चाहिए ना, वो हर किसी के पास नहीं होता है। सबसे बड़ी चीज़ टेक्नोलॉजिकल प्लेटफॉर्म है, वो आसान नहीं है बिल्ड करना। मुझे नहीं लगता इतना ही होता तो ऊबर जैसे 50 और खुल गए होते। अभी भी 3-4 ही है ना। ऐसा तो नहीं है 50 हो गए, इतना आसान होता तो बात ही क्या थी। प्लस ये बहुत प्रॉफिट मेकिंग बिजनेस नहीं है, अभी तक उसने ना कहीं पे भी प्रॉफिट की बात नहीं करी है। मेरे को ये भी एक मन में डर है कि वो एग्जाम में आपको ना कुछ प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी भी देगा और वो बताएगा देखो हम रेवेन्यू तो बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं बट हमारी प्रॉफिट में बैंड बजी हुई है, बिकॉज ये बिजनेस बहुत प्रॉफिट मेकिंग नहीं होता है।
Agreed.
Anybody else, guys? Anything?
Sir, how do we handle the traditional cab drivers in ride hailing as such? Because our ride hailing is on a stagnant position, so if we have to increase it, so we have to handle the trade unions also. We will be killing the traditional taxi drivers also in that case.
Do you really feel अक्षय उबर हैंडल कर रही है ट्रेडिशनल ड्राइवर्स, ट्रेडिशनल ड्राइविंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को? डू यू रियली फील?
But
पता है
somewhere the
अक्षय, ये बिजनेस मॉडल ना ऐसे हैं जिसमें हम अपने फॉर एग्जांपल जब उबर आई तो क्या उबर ने रामलाल एंड सन्स जो कि ट्रैवल एजेंट्स थे उनको 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 उनके साथ compete किया? उनके साथ compete ही नहीं किया, उसने अपनी लीग अलग खड़ी कर दी। ये तो सारी कंपनीज ही वही हैं, ये कंपनीज एक्चुअली में compete ही नहीं करती हैं इनके साथ। इनफैक्ट इन्होंने क्या किया, जिनके साथ ये compete करते थे ये उन्हें अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे लेके आ गया कि तुम अपना बिजनेस भी हमसे ही ले लो। तो मेरे को नहीं लगता यहाँ ट्रेडिशनल का कोई भी प्रॉब्लम बनता है, क्योंकि ट्रेडिशनल की प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है। प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे अगर है तो मुझे लगता है 5 एरियाज में अक्षय। यहाँ प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है टेक्नोलॉजी की, यहाँ प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है प्रॉफिट की, यहाँ प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है सस्टेन्ड रेवेन्यू की, क्योंकि ड्राइवर और कस्टमर दोनों डिक्लाइनिंग मोड में हैं इन सम शेप और फॉर्मेट। यहाँ प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है रिस्क की, जो रिस्क हैं रेगुलेटरी या कंप्लायंस, और यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है फ्यूचरिस्टिक ट्रेंड की, कि मैं फ्यूचर में कैसे एक्सपेंशन करूँगा। ये 4-5 एरियाज हैं जो मुझे लगते हैं जो कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी शेप एंड फॉर्मेट में डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली आ सकते हैं। हालांकि अगेन एवरी गेस इज अ गुड गेस, राइट? आई कांट रियली दैट्स, आप जैसे गेस कर रहे हो मैं भी वैसे ही गेस कर रहा हूँ।
But from a technology standpoint, like the risk thing of the credit cards, like how Wazirax happened now, something the issue happened there. Like what would you have done like that to avoid that fraud thing happening? Fraud as in the hacking thing happening.
देखो मुझे I have to invest in my systems. If I'm into this business, I have to invest in my business to ensure कि मैं किसी भी रेगुलेशन से कंप्लायंट हूँ, और मैं जिस प्लेटफॉर्म पे मैं काम कर रहा हूँ वो प्लेटफॉर्म मुझे 100% एश्योरेंस दे कि मेरे डेटा कहीं और नहीं जाएगा। इसीलिए जब आप काम करते हो, फॉर एग्जांपल लेट मी टेल यू, वी ऑल्सो वर्क विद स्टूडेंट्स डेटा, राइट? We also work with your credit card details when you purchase on our website. We ensure that we have the right people on our website who have given their platform. We will not take platform from XYZ. We'll take platform from one of the reputed vendor who is known for control checks and balances, who is known for guaranteeing that everything is secured, GDPR compliant है, X है, Y है. So all of those compliance checks and regulatory checks you need to do. क्या उसके बावजूद कोई एरर नहीं होगा? शायद होगा, बट एटलीस्ट अपनी तरफ से तो इंश्योर करो।
You have to talk about insurance as well in this case to transfer some of the risk.
Insurance of, speak more on this.
Like, see, from the standpoint that now today, if I have a leak now in my system now, if the revenue, if my money is into debit and credit card, the money is like that only. It is electronic mode only. So if someone is trying to steal from me or taking all the details and using in a very wrong manner. So do I have to insure in this risk as such? Is it that big of a risk? I'm talking like that.
शायद रिस्क तो होगा अक्षय, बट मुझे पता नहीं ऐसा रिस्क इंश्योर हो सकता है, मुझे ये नहीं पता।
That is what I wanted to know.
मतलब मेरी समझ से तो नहीं। रिस्क ऑफ एरर्स एंड ओमिशन होता है, जो आप कर सकते हो, रिस्क ऑफ लॉस ऑफ प्रॉफिट होता है, बट मैं नहीं समझता कि ये वाला कोई रिस्क इंश्योर हो सकता
There's no
है।
risk of this kind. Okay.
मुझे पता नहीं है, मतलब ऑनेस्टली मेरे पास आंसर नहीं है इसका।
साइबर इंश्योरेंस में कुछ कवर
हो सकता है, स्ट्रेट अवे नहीं है पंकज। दूसरा मुझे कॉस्ट बेनिफिट भी देखना पड़ेगा पंकज कि क्या कॉस्ट है उसका। ये इंश्योरेंस सस्ते नहीं आते हैं। प्लस पता है इन इंश्योरेंस के अंदर ना कवरेज भी बहुत अजीब होती है, मतलब उनके इतने डिस्क्लेमर और इतने केवियट्स होते हैं कि पता नहीं एंड में मिलेगा क्या।
एक्सक्लूजन्स बहुत सारे होते हैं उसमें।
हाँ, we were talking to one of a US company and they wanted to work with us. When they sent us the contract ना, they had few of these kind of things into it. तो हमारा सबसे पहला जवाब ये था कि बॉस जो आप क्लॉज दे रहे हो ना, अगर हम ये क्लॉज पूरे करेंगे तो हम बिजनेस नहीं कर सकते। They wanted $1 million insurance for XYZ. I said $1 million insurance.
प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है।
So it's not easy.
Sir, are you looking at anything from the staff point of view? Like they have given percentages, they have given the breakup also.
मुझे लगा नहीं ऐसा कुछ अक्षय,
Other than the org chart as in.
मुझे लगा नहीं कुछ, मतलब मेरे को, मैंने आपको जो 5 इशू बोले ना अक्षय, मुझे वहीं दिखे, मेरे को और कोई इशू दिखा नहीं है इसके अंदर। अब देखो वो कोई निकाल के लिया एग्जिबिट में तो मैं कह नहीं सकता, बट मेरे को प्राइमा फेसी कुछ लगा नहीं है मेरे को।
Okay.
जैसे मैंने आपको बोला कि मुझे उसमें एक चीज़ दिखी थी कि एक पॉइंट था ना,
Investing in randomly alone. That is a good thing towards technology.
नहीं मैं एक पॉइंट मैं देख रहा था कि हाँ, वहाँ पे ना उसने एक पॉइंट बोला था कि बियागो एम्प्लॉयज ओवर 5,000 स्टाफ इन 60 लोकेशंस अक्रॉस बीलैंड। यहाँ पे उन्होंने 60 लोकेशन बोला बीलैंड पे, जबकि मैं 250 लोकेशंस पे हूँ।
Yeah.
तो ये मुझे एक थोड़ा सा कैच लगा था कि मैंने 5,123 एम्प्लॉयज़ में से 5,000 तो 60 लोकेशन पे ही रखे हुए हैं। तो आई डोंट नो अगर मुझे ज़रूरत है कहीं पे और रखने की, नहीं है, कैसे है। अब ये सारी ना अक्षय प्रॉब्लम पता है क्या है, ये सारी बातें हैं जब तक मैं एग्जिबिट देख नहीं लेता, तो ये सब गेसेस हैं। बट अगर मैं इसको छोड़ दूँ तो मुझे और कोई चीज़ ऐसी लगी नहीं जो मैं बोलूँ कि हाँ, मैं बोलूँ आपको कि हाँ ये चीज़ का ध्यान रखना।
सर एक प्रॉब्लम जो मैंने बार बार फेस करी है वो रिस्क रजिस्टर का जो क्वेश्चन आता है मॉक्स में, उसको आंसर करने में की है कि टेबुलर फॉर्म में उसका आंसर कैसे करना है। तो एक बार आप प्लीज उसको थोड़ा गाइड कर दीजिए।
रिस्क की हेडिंग लिखनी है, उसका इम्पैक्ट लिखना है और उसका करेक्टिव एक्शन लिखना है। टेबल में 3 चीज़ें आती हैं, रिस्क की हेडिंग, उसका इम्पैक्ट, उसका करेक्टिव एक्शन, दैट्स इट। लेट्स कीप इट एज सिंपल एज पॉसिबल, कुछ नहीं करना और। All right, guys, I think we are on time. Anything more that you would want to have, let's just wrap up and probably I'll be sharing the slide and the videos with all of you guys. You can probably have a look on this. I hope this session was helpful, guys. At least discussing this certainly helps you in terms of getting up the curve, in terms of knowing कि अच्छा ये चीज़ें हैं जो हमसे पूछी जा सकती हैं in some shape or format. One request that I have for all of you guys is that team would be sharing with you a feedback link of Fintram's SBL session today. I would want you, all of you, and this is not a excuse that I would want to have from you. I would want all of you to spend 2 minutes in terms of writing the review, because that really helps me knowing what we are doing and how we are doing. So I would want all of you to spend those 2 minutes in terms of writing that review and send it today as soon as possible. Can I expect that?
Yes, sir. And thank you for the today's session, sir. It was really helpful.
Thank you guys, thank you very much and look forward. Thank you. Wish you all the luck and we see you soon with your mock review. Thank you. अच्छा वो लीवा का इंटरव्यू है।
करके बैठे।
Sorry, यार.